Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Marzano, Principal Analyst at Emarketer, where I cover retail and commerce media. I'm joined today by the new leader of Roundel Media, Matt Drzewicki, and we're here at Cannes. We'll be chatting about Roundel's unique positioning in the retail media landscape. Hi, Matt. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Sarah, thank you for coming. As always, good to see you. Appreciate the time.
Yeah. So let's start our conversation with search. This is one of the most established formats in retail media, and it really drives the backbone of a lot of retail media ad spending. Emarketer forecasts that retail media search accounts for about 60% of all of retail media ad spending. And that's just search on retailers' owned and operated properties. Yeah. But even though it's a really established format, it's evolving in really interesting ways. The consumer purchase journey is becoming more fragmented. And with that, I think we're seeing search move from something that we've viewed as very tactical to be more entrenched in discovery. And I know that Target has a new campaign called Joy is Good for Business.
We do.
I'm curious if we could dive deeper into that and how you're thinking about tying that joy of discovery with business and with the outcomes that your brand partners are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. Also love being in front of these mics, don't you? This
is really very official.
Really official here. But listen, we do believe joy is good for business. And you talk about discovery, right? You talk about discovery. That's inherent in the Target experience, right? Target being America's discovery destination. Think about, I'm going to make an assumption that you have been in our stores before.
Oh, I sure have.
Okay,
yes.
Right? And it's the old adage of walking in expecting to buy one or two things.
Can't get out of there for $20.
There you go, right? Exactly. That is, and there's joy inherent in that. And it is something that our guests expect. That is Tarzhay magic, right?
Absolutely.
Tarzhay, a moniker that was given to us from our guests, not something that we created on our own, but that is really at the essence of joy being good for business. And from an advertising perspective, it's really no different in terms of really bringing that joy to the forefront of the discovery experience. Our guests tell us, more than half of our guests tell us that they're walking into a Target store, like we just talked about, expecting to discover new items. That's part of the experience. And nearly 75% of our guests tell us that ads actually aid in that discovery of new items. So it really becomes a real unique and distinct connection point when you think about, again, Target's role in the omni-channel ecosystem and how Roundel connects to that. And then secondarily for us, the Target shopper is really the quintessential omni-channel shopper. And so when we think about discoverability, when we think about search, it's not just about on our platform, right? This is about being on digital, our own platforms, digital off platforms, social, and then the physical store as well, all coming together in the form of discovery. But I also know that Emarketer has some new work that you have produced. So would also love to hear more about what you all are seeing.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to hear directly from consumers about how they're engaging in search. So our recent research discovered that the average consumer uses about 5 platforms to engage in routine searches. And they're moving between these platforms with a lot of ease, right? And in fact, when we zoom out and look at the top 10 platforms that consumers see as search destinations, what's fascinating is that they span traditional search engines, retailer platforms, and social platforms. I think 3 out of the top 10 were retailers and 4 out of the top 10 were social. So there's this fragmentation going on the consumer standpoint, although for consumers, it's important to note that it doesn't feel like fragmentation or friction.
Yes.
And even with all of that fragmentation, we know that search ad spending on retailers' owned and operated platforms is booming. Emarketer is forecasting $20 billion in incremental spend will be added to retail media on platform search in the next 4 years through 2029. So with all of these new signals and what we know about how consumer purchase journeys are evolving, how is Roundel adapting its approach?
Yeah, so we are moving right along with the guest, with the customer, right? As I started, it's Target is laser focused on the guest and the guest experience. And we have great visibility to that guest. We have 165 million households. 100 million of those are part of our Target Circle loyalty program. That program is growing. We added about 13 million new members just last year. And so when you think about that fidelity, that view that we have of the Target guest, it it's really, really valuable. That said, as we evolve, we are looking, number one, to make it easier for all of our partners to engage with search on our platforms. And so this year we launched our own self-service platform, Roundel Media Studio, which is giving access to really brands of all sizes, access to our search platform on Target.com and the app, which has been great, again, unlocking the opportunity for a multitude of again, partners of all sizes. And then secondarily, when we think about, again, all of that activity that's happening off platform, we just recently announced Precision Plus by Roundel, which is really a new way of buying off-platform media with and through Roundel. And it's really based on objectives. And so of any given marketer, so awareness objective, consideration, conversion. What we've done in close partnership with our tech partners, whether it be Google, whether it be the Trade Desk or our social partners, it's based on close signal sharing in a clean room environment in which we are really taking advantage of our each individual unique strengths, as I will call it. And so from our standpoint, that's obviously knowledge of the guest and from a target perspective, feeding that into the tech partners' natural algorithms, letting their machine learning and algorithms do the work of identifying the guest, driving that objective, awareness, consideration, or conversion, and then feeding that data back to us so that we can do closed loop measurement, both digitally as well as in store. And so it's a really, really unique and first of the industry approach to engaging with those tech partners and those platforms off platform.
Yeah, I love that. I love the sort of bifurcated approach that you spoke to around sort of continuing to optimize the way that brands can show up on your owned platform, but also putting a lot of work into how those advertisers can show up to target audiences off platform, right, where folks spend a lot of time. And I think the dedication to closed loop attribution and being able to deliver on those outcomes is such a key sort of strategic place for a retailer to be when it comes to moving into this sort of next era of retail media. I want to talk about offsite a little bit more. The majority of ad spending in retail media is still spent on retailers' owned and operated properties, but offsite is actually growing a lot faster than onsite. So for 2025, Emarketer is forecasting offsite growth of 36%. That's over 2 times the growth for onsite. And with that evolution, brand safety becomes part of the conversation in retail media, where sort of historically we've been able to not have that be as top of mind, right? Because of the inherent brand safety that happens within a retailer's owned and operated properties. So how are you working through this complexity, and what kind of reassurances are you providing to your advertisers around how they're going to be showing up via Target in off-platform environments? Yeah,
it's a great question, and is one that is very important to Target as a brand. Again, when you think about Target as a brand, there's a significant amount of trust that the guest has with our brand. And that's something that we value very much. And it's something that we are not willing to compromise in our own media that our Target marketing organization puts out into the market, into the wild, so to speak. And so we take that exact same approach in all of our off-platform media that we engage in. Our Bullseye Marketplace, which is our off-platform programmatic display offering, is completely curated, brand-safe publishers, which we are completely transparent in terms of where these placements take place and who is part of that network. And again, is curated from sites that only Target ourselves would put our own advertising on. So wildly important to Target, and then therefore Roundel.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And it sounds like that's like a very well thought out protection that you're able to offer.
Our guests trust us. They also have told us, we know that they actually trust ads from Target 4 times more than other lesser known brands that they may engage with. So again, that data tells us is that there is an expectation of what they are going to receive or feel or experience from a Target ad and Target experience. And again, that's really important to us.
What a huge success, and also a huge responsibility that you have, right, to maintain that trust.
Yes.
Okay. We've spent some time talking about digital discovery, right? Whether that's on platform or off platform. I want to switch gears a little bit. I think in retail media, conversations about the physical store really easily fall into the abstract or these sort of far-flung future notions about the store of the future. When I think about Target, and we've talked about this a little bit today, I think about the fact that you already have a really distinct in-store environment that feels quite central to brand storytelling.
Yes.
So I want to talk a bit about how you're approaching in-store within Roundel. And I'm going to lean on you a little bit to not speak conceptually, but speak executionally. Like, what are you trying? What's working? What are you going to be launching that we can look for? Like, how is this actually going to come to life?
Yeah, it's a great question. And you're absolutely right. It is the store experience is exactly how we started this conversation. When you think about joy being good for business, that discovery that happens, we are very much known for that discovery experience in store. And so again, we see that as something that is very unique and different versus other peers in the industry. For us, in terms of some of the available today right now, we have been testing things like end of aisle hubs that allow engagement for our brand advertisers. We are testing some new things within beauty that you'll see out in the wild fairly soon. Beauty screens on shelf that do some education for users. And then I think the one that I'm most excited about that actually is not an ad product yet, but is the launch of our digital in-store experience and assistant, if you will. And so if you think about, again, the target guest being that ultimate omni-channel shopper, we know that about 76% of our guests are on the app or target.com while they are in the store. And so we've created this in-store mode to help them navigate the store, right when they're in it. We know exactly where they are. We know what aisle they're in. Again, as an assistant to help them find and discover what they need. You can imagine or think about eventually how, from an advertising perspective, an engagement perspective, it creates a unique and different opportunity to create some serendipitous moments in discovery via ads. So we're really excited about that. And then we also will continue to expand on in-store experiences, sampling, demos. That's also part of the fun Target experience, which we've been doing for quite some time, but we'll continue to expand that as we get into the back half of the year.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that sounds like such a compelling suite of products, and it really sort of taps into one of the things I'm the most excited about when it comes to in-store media, which is this ability to blend really differentiated formats to create a very multi-dimensional brand story for consumers.
Yes.
And I think, I love what you said about sort of the category-specific activations, because what a beauty shopper needs is going to be different than if you're shopping a different aisle in the store, right?
That's right.
And the formats should reflect that. So I love that. And also, I feel like it's very on brand to tap into that customer behavior that you've already cultivated. The hard work that you've done building out an app that customers rely on as a tool when they're in store already, and thinking through how to build on that and emphasize it, right?
That's right.
It creates an opportunity to be additive to the in-store experience versus potentially disrupting it, which I think is like a big watch out in in-store retail media.
Exactly. Again, it's that additive experience that is integrated to the way that we already know that they are behaving inside of our stores, right? And so making sure that we have that insight and leaning into that in terms of how we engage them differently than we have in the past. Yeah,
that's perfect. Something I think about a lot is how the in-store experience is impossible to replicate online. I think that's a big part of why the majority of transactions still happen in physical stores.
Yes.
But an important learning for retail media, which really grew up online, is that the online playbook can't just be sort of broadly applied to the in-store experience. It has to be differentiated to really reflect that environment.
That's right. Exactly.
I think one of the other elements of introducing retail media at scale in physical stores is that within a retailer organization, there's new teams and stakeholders that have to be brought on board and have to be brought into the new strategy. So what are you working on from that perspective to ensure that everyone's aligned?
Yeah, well, first of all, so I've been at Target just about 3 years, a little over 3 years. And I think one of the things that is so refreshing and exciting about the work that me and the team here at Roundel get to do is the collaboration across the Target enterprise. And so when you talk about in-store, right, it involves us working with our partners who own the in-store experience. When we start talking about what some of those experiences look like, we're partnering with our merchandising team. When we are doing other types of activations off property, we are working with our marketing team. And so this one Target approach, if you will, is really, really important to us and is, I think, distinctly different in the way that we are showing up in the industry with our partners in terms of really getting a holistic approach approach to working with Target. It's not just about working with Roundel and ads,
Absolutely.
but what you're getting is a total collaboration across across Target.
I love that because I think it sort of taps into a topic that I don't think gets enough airtime, which is that retail media sits at this really unique intersection, right?
Yes.
Where your customers are your brand partners that are looking for tools for how they show up, right, to target shoppers.
Yes.
You have a responsibility to the target shoppers to enhance their experience, right? And then you have a responsibility to the merchant teams and the category teams who are doing really hard work to make sure the merchandising is on point and that store experience and the online experience are right. So I think retail media has so many stakeholders, right? And
That's
it sounds
right.
like you're sort of thinking about all of this in a really holistic way.
We are all responsible for the joy. And
Absolutely.
again, we think joy is good for business.
Yes, I love it. Well, this has been such a great conversation. I love hearing about how Roundel is knitting all of these levers together. And I'm really excited for what's to come. So thank you so much for joining me for this chat today.
Thank you, Sarah. Always appreciate seeing you and always appreciate spending some time. So thank you.